returners.
Welcome.
Welcome. I like to see new faces out there.
We've got some new faces, guys. Make sure you greet them after service.
And the universe is actually, we're being broadcast on the universe right now, out to the world, God, and country. So thank you, everybody. I would like to start this service with a song called This Is the Day. And if you would please rise and help us join in the spirit, we'd appreciate it. And we'll get it started.
This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Sing that with me. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, a day to be seized, yeah. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Can feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Good morning. Can you hear me, Sue? Do you want me to use the mic? Am I turned on? 1 second. Can you hear me? Yeah, my mic is on, so can you hear me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing, testing. We did a test mic earlier. Yeah, we did. It was working. Can you hear it okay? Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello.
It might be share the mic time.
All right. Let's switch over to this mic. She's going to turn on. Can you turn on this mic? Okay. Oh, there we go. There we go. So 1 second. Let's try my mic again. Can you try it? Now, there it is. There it is. We had to push a button there. All right. We're all live. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goins. I'm the assistant minister here. Reverend Karen is taking the weekend off. It was her birthday yesterday, so hopefully everybody was able to wish her a happy birthday. So she's taking some time off and just relaxing, enjoying herself. So our announcements for today. So it's actually a two-person show. Me and Reverend Susan will be doing the service today. So the announcements first is Spot On Thursday. We're still doing our spiritual practice on Thursdays at 1:30. So please join us here at the center for that beautiful experience. I also want to remind you that on Wednesday nights we're going through this Living the Science of Mind textbook, and this whole month the focus is going to be on what we believe. So each week we're going to be focusing on 3 or 4 topics of what we believe as a spiritual organization. And so if you want to jump on and listen to the conversation, we have great conversation every Wednesday night. It's at 6 o'clock every Wednesday night. And the information is in the bulletin. It's also on the newsletter. So it would be a great time to join. Also want to remind everybody that the men's retreat will be May the 10th and the 11th. It's going to be a Friday night and a Saturday. John is helping me talk with people and talk with the guys to find out who's going to attend the retreat. The theme of the retreat is Be the Change. So we are going to be the change in the world. Also want to let everybody know that we have a save the date, which is May the 23rd, and Reverend Sue will be teaching, Susan will be teaching a visioning class starting on May the 23rd. And then finally, our theme this year is Change Our World. And I was watching my wonderful news station this morning, and they were talking about being lazy and how we are not being lazy enough in the world today. Right? And so, and being lazy, when I'm talking about being lazy, I'm just talking about being still and not doing anything. If you're reading a book for enjoyment and for relaxation, that could be part of being lazy, right? Or just being still and sitting out on your back porch or laying on your couch, whatever it may be for you for being lazy. But as a society, they were talking about we're not being lazy enough today. So I encourage each one of us to practice being lazy. Practice being still and do nothing and allow yourself to be open and see what happens in your life. So that is how we're going to change our world, because in that stillness, in that quietness, that's when new ideas are created. So I encourage each one of us to practice being lazy. All right. So now's the time to say our vision statement. So we can say our vision statement together. Let me see here. Maybe. 1 second. Yep, I know, but I got to get this to advance. Do you know why it's not advancing? We're having all kinds of technical challenges today. Let me turn this off. Well, I just turn it off, turn it back on. Let's try it now.
Darn computer.
So why don't you, Julie, can you turn around for us? And then if you could just work with me on changing the slides, I'll let you know. So, all right, so let's say our visioning statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community, honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the science of mind principles. And so it is. So now just sit back, relax, focus on the technology and how it's working very well. And let the Bradfords open up your hearts and minds with their beautiful music and center us in this beautiful space that we call our spiritual home. Thank you.
So just take a deep breath as we move within.
I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
In the still small voice, I listen. I know that God is the rainbow of every color. God is divine love, joy, and peace. God is ease and tranquility. As I know these are the aspects of God, I know these are every one of the aspects of each and every one of us, right here and now. God is expressing itself in, through, and every part of you. As you face another person or an animal or a dog, that is God calling back to you. And since I know that we are one with this divine presence, I know that right here and now, we have come to hear Reverend Clyde share a divine story. A story we each and every one of us really need to listen to today. And we bless the Bradfords and all their music. It's so wonderful to bring us to that point where we know who we are in the midst of the music. It is with this divine love that I am grateful for the knowingness that each and every one of us are one with that divine expression. Each and every one of us are one with God. And we know this, we accept this, we give gratitude for this. I release it into the universal law, knowing it is done unto you as you believe. And so it is. So in my reading today, it's about Ralph Emerson's, I know his name. It's on Emerson's messages, essays. That's what it is. Ralph Waldo Emerson. I remember this book. Anyway, the reading is taken out of Your Soul's Assignment. It was written by a colleague of mine, Reverend Chris Michaels. And he's writing about this essay. So in this essay, Emerson is trying to convey the oneness of our nature. We are not part of God. God's spirit has not been divided among us. All of us is equally presents in each of us. Much like a holographic picture where every part contains the entire picture, each of us is a center of God's power and potential. That sounds better. We realize our oneness through our connections to each other. That is why our personal relationships are such a wonderful opportunity to experience this connection through shared experiences of love and joy. So it is not enough to know the value of who you are. It's equally important to know the value of every person you meet, whether you are able to see it or not. Every person has as much value to God as you do. When you do your spiritual work, remember to include every person you know in your prayers. No one has to be sick in order for you to be healthy. No one has to be poor in order for you to be wealthy. There is enough good to go around. God has an infinite supply of good for all of us. Take a minute to think about that. And so it is.
I close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting there for me, that I call my own. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, but it feels like home. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say I've lost my mind. I don't care, so call me crazy. We can live in a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. There's a house we can build. Every room inside is filled with things from far away. Special things I compile, each one there to make you smile on a rainy day. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say I've lost my mind. I don't care, so call me crazy. We can live in a world that we design. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. However big, however small, let me be part of it all. Share your dreams with me. You may be right, you may be wrong. Say that you'll bring me along to the world you see, to the world I close my eyes to see. I close my eyes to see. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
Thank you, Kathy and Rod, for singing that song. I asked them to sing that song for today, and I have several power songs, I would call them, that I play for myself that remind me of my truth, but I can never hear that song enough of all the dreams of the world that we're going to make. And if you have never seen The Greatest Showman, you should watch that movie. I can watch it over and over again. It's so powerful, so beautiful, and that's where that song comes from, is from The Greatest Showman. So thank you. All right, so the title of my talk is Building a Cathedral, and if you can go ahead and change the slide there. So, and then my wonderful Julie is going to help me change the slides. She's always helping, so thank you so much. So this is a picture of the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. So it took a lot of people over 200 years to build this Notre Dame Cathedral. Most cathedrals are built in about a half a century, which is about 600 years. So can you imagine something that took so long to complete? The architects, the designers, the builders would never see the finished product. They would never get a chance to walk through the doors to see this beautiful artistic building. I don't know about you, but I have a short attention span, and so this whole concept makes me really nervous and shiver. So their commitment to the idea, to the vision, to the beauty, and to the joy, that is what I want to talk about today. Our commitment to the idea of a world that works for everyone, to a spiritual principle that there is only one life, and then to the idea that love changes everything. Our theme this year is Change Your World. We are part of a changing world, and we are creating a container for our world and the future. Each one of us is part of that change. So every day, our decisions and our actions are either supporting or negating a world that works for everyone. So I watched a movie last night on Netflix called Shirley. If you haven't seen it, it's a fantastic movie. But in 1968, she was the first black woman that was elected into Congress. And then in 1972, she was the first black woman that was nominated for the president of the United States. So can you imagine 25 years ago that this was happening? She was actually planting seeds for our future. She was way ahead of her time. So a couple of years ago, our theme for Seeding the Future pledge program was Indrid's Web. And Reverend Karen made this incredible net, and we have it hanging in the back of the room. And she did this incredible job of creating this net that represents who we are, the truth about who we are. So based on the mythology, Indrid's net represents how we are connected, how we are all connected, and what affects one of us affects all of us. The gems, if you take some time and go back there and look at it and how beautiful, and she literally weaved that herself, but the gems that are in the net, they represent the reflection represents the loving support that we have for each other. So our decisions and our actions are the vibration that travel across the web of life. The web reminds us that together we are stronger and that we are never alone. So each one of us is an agent of God. We're here to love and support each other. Next slide. So my talk was inspired about this book that was given to all the ministers at the ministers' retreat this year. And Reverend Karen went to the retreat, and she told me about the book, and of course I had to buy it to read it. So Sean Ginwright is the author of The Four Pillars. And one of my favorite quotes in the book is, the first wrong question is, what should we do? The first right question is, who should we become? So sometimes our first reaction to challenges is that we need to do something. But can we pause, self-reflect, and do our inner work and be the change that we want to experience? Can we commit to an idea of a world that works for everyone? Create a container of loving support for ourselves and for the future. So in the book, Sean talks about how we are a nation, as a nation we are damaged, we're hurt, we're angry, we're afraid. We are evolving as a nation and growing pains can be scary. So reflect on your personal life, something you wanted to change or something you wanted to experience in life in a new way. So what do we believe? We change our thinking, we change our life. I always try to say that I always try to tell people that you cannot fool life or take shortcuts. We can act one way and believe something else. Our beliefs are an outpicture of how we are experiencing and expressing life. Experiencing life in a new way can take some time, but it's worth the work and the commitment. All through my adulthood, my young adulthood, I considered myself as damaged goods, a survivor of child abuse. I was alone and I was afraid. And through Science of the Mind classes and teachings, it helped me change my life. I attended classes, I attended the Sunday service, I practiced my spiritual practices in my life. And fast forward years later, I'm the happiest I've ever been. And my life only keeps getting better. So I thank God that changing my life didn't take as long as building a cathedral. I wanted more. I wanted to experience life differently. And I wanted to feel safe and loved. So just like our personal lives, healing our nation or the world is an inside job, and it starts with each one of us. Like building a cathedral, it's going to take many years, but the question is, are we willing to commit to making a world that works for everyone? Can we commit to doing our personal work and have faith that our beliefs are changing the world? I never thought I would get married, not because I didn't want to, but because gay marriage wasn't legal for a while. I had a belief that I wanted to get married someday. I wasn't sure how or when, but now I am proud to say that I am engaged. Thank you. I'm very filled with joy to be able to experience something that I wanted all my life. But the excitement of engagement was short-lived when we started to plan the wedding. How does something so beautiful become so stressful? The floodgates of decisions opened wide open, and we have no idea of what we're doing, and this is all new to us. And so we're just trusting the process. That's all I can say right now. But it makes me happy to hear about people who were married 20 plus years and witness the love between the two people. I'm sure it's not always easy, but the commitment to each other is so beautiful to witness and experience. I have accomplished many goals in my life, and I asked Mark to help me accomplish one of my life goals, which is to be married to somebody for more than 20 years. So we've been together for 4 years, and we are counting those towards our 20 years. So I want to walk through some difficult topics, and you may have a reaction to them. And when I'm reading, when I was reading the 4 pivots, these topics popped into my consciousness. So I ask for you to be open to the topics and the discussion that we're going to have. Ask yourself, why am I having a reaction? How am I showing up in the world? And how can I change our world? So the first one is the gun shootings in school. We have had more gun shootings in the school in the last 5 years than we have had in the previous 22 years before. We have felt the pain ripple out into the world. The Me Too movement. The Me Too is a social movement of awareness campaign against sexual abuse, sexual harassment, and rape culture, in which people publicize their experiences of sexual abuse or sexual harassment. All the sex crimes and harassments that surfaced in 2020. We witnessed well-known public people being held accountable for their actions. We felt the uncomfortableness ripple out into the world. Black Lives Matter movement. Black Lives Matter is a decentralized political and social movement that seeks to highlight racism, discrimination, and racial inequality experienced by black people and promote anti-racism. Its primary concerns are incidents of police brutality and racial motivated violence against black people. George Floyd murdered by a police officer in May of 2020. Because of the media, we witnessed the event that rippled out into the world. And then in January of 2021, the attack on the Capitol. So try to put your political views aside and just remember what was happening that day. I was glued to the TV just like so many other people. What were you feeling? We felt the fear ripple out into the world. So I share these events with you not to scare you, not to make you angry, or not to have you choose a side, but to recognize the world that we live in. Sean talks about the pain that we are experiencing in his book, The Four Pivots. He talks about our healing that needs to take place so we can live in a world that works for everyone. So I'm not asking you to pick a side or become an activist. The world is evolving, and we are here in this time and place with these topics. Life continues to evolve, and we are part of it. We are not outside of life, we are life. So how can we be the change that we want to experience in life, in the world? So take a moment and reflect on your feelings right now. How do you apply spiritual practices to these situations? We believe if we change our thinking, we can change our life. We believe that there's only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect, and that life is my life now. Who should we become to support a life that works for everyone? Do we have faith that life moves in one direction? More good, more love, more creativity. Can we commit to creating a life that works for everyone, knowing that building a cathedral takes centuries to build? Advance forward, next slide. So what I want to talk about is DEI. DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. As a discipline, DEI is any policy or practice designated to make people of various backgrounds feel welcome and ensure that they have support to perform the fullest of their abilities in the workplace. But I want to replace workplace with life. What I want to say is a spiritual practice designed to make people of various backgrounds feel welcome and ensure they have the support to express life. So how do we make this a world that works for everyone? How can we look at the challenges we are facing with a different perspective? Sean talks about how our pivot and perspective means that we actively work, even when it's hard as hell, to recognize that there is always a bird's eye view of things that allows us to see the whole picture. We can widen our lens to get a greater understanding, but we are still on one side of the situation. So the question is, can we move to a bird's eye view and gain an understanding of the whole situation? Ask yourself when you're feeling stirred up about any situation in your life, what is my perspective? Do I have a bird's eye view of the situation? How do I incorporate DEI in my life? Next slide. So I want to talk about diversity. When I think of diversity, I think of creativity. I think of how God has created diversity in all the flowers, all the animals, and even in the human race. I love this image because it takes many hands to build a cathedral. If it takes centuries to build a cathedral, can you even imagine all the diverse people that helped create this dream? Look around our community and see the diversity in our spiritual home. We all come together from different places, have different desires, different goals. We all express and experience life differently, but we come together every Sunday to celebrate the oneness of life. We believe that there's only one life, and each one of us is that individualized expression of God, whole, perfect, and complete just the way that we are. And we believe that everyone is doing, and I believe that everyone is doing the best they can, even when it looks messy. We believe that all paths lead to God, but in some conversations, we feel like our religion might have some advantages over other religions. How can someone believe in hell or the devil? I'm glad I do not have that belief. So my dad is one of my best teachers. When I first started coming to our center and studying our religion, my dad thought we were a cult. If I had to guess, in the back of his mind, he still probably has a little bit of a belief that we're a cult. But he loves me, and he sees how happy I am, and so he has a different perspective on our religion. When we were kids, I don't want to say we were raised as Catholics, because we weren't. We started off, my mom was Catholic, so we started off, and we had to go and we were baptized, and we had to have our first communion, and then that was it. Then we were in the team, and that was all that was required of us. And so from that point on, we didn't really experience religion in our family. Fast forward many years later, when I was in my late 20s, my sister and my dad and myself, we all started going to church on our own. And we were all going to different churches. And my dad landed back in the Catholic Mass. And it was very painful for me experiencing the Catholic Mass with him at first, because I really loved our religion, and I was really being judgmental about the Catholic Mass and making fun of it, and my dad didn't help the situation at all, right? So when we would get together for vacations, either if he came to visit me, I would have to find a church for him to go to, and it had to be on a Saturday night, and so we had to build our vacation, our plans around him going to church on Saturday. And if I went to visit him, I had to go to church with him on Saturday, on Saturday evening for the Sunday Mass. He was very committed to going to service every Sunday, and he's like, I can't miss it. And so it was pretty challenging for a while. He's loosened up, I will tell you now. But in addition to that, when I would go visit him and we would go to church, we would have to go to Catholic Mass. We would have to go an hour early. There's nobody in the church except for us and the musicians are practicing. And so while we were there by ourselves, then we had to whisper. We couldn't talk loud. We couldn't make jokes in there. My dad felt very serious about, attending the Catholic Mass. And then my family has a tendency of teasing each other. And so I used to tease my dad. What is the message? What is the homily? What's the point? What's the nugget that we're trying to get from this? And we used to have some very not so nice arguments about it, right? Because I could never understand it. But I experienced the bird's eye view and had a different perspective from my dad. And what I realized is that when he would go to church early on that Sunday, and he would go there so he could get this one seat that he wanted, so nobody else could get it. The reason why he was sitting there, he was the unofficial guest, welcomer. So everybody that walked through the door, he welcomed every person and greeted them, and it was a beautiful experience to see that. And then it was also a beautiful experience to see how my dad revered the service and just being present at the Mass and communing with God. So I got to witness this experience with my dad. And I had a completely different perspective of going to a Catholic faith. So because I changed my perspective on that Catholic faith, I enjoy going to church with my dad now, that Catholic Mass, because we get to commune with God together. So he really taught me that how all paths lead to God. So when we look at our life experiences with the bird's eye view, it's easier to remember that there's only one life. When we can see the beauty and the differences and cherish life in a new way. Next slide. So I want to talk about equity. So a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I thought I understood the difference between equality and equity, but obviously I did not. This picture helped me understand the difference. There is a big difference between the two. So equality suggests that everybody should have the same amount of support and the same amount of opportunity. But the problem is that we're not all starting from the same place. So I may be starting from here, and another person may be starting from outside in the parking lot. So you can see, even though that we get the same amount of support and the same amount of opportunity, we're starting from two different places, so it's really not equitable. So it's not about giving people resources and support that they need. So it is about giving people the resources and the support they need, meet them where they are, so that everyone can express life fully. So when we are born as innocent babies with a life of possibilities. So I love when Reverend Karen says that life kissed us into being, because it makes me feel like I'm loved and I'm supported. We are here because life needs us, and our gifts and talents are unique to us, and part of our journey through life is to discover what our gift is to the world. I believe that every person comes into life for a reason, to help us grow and remember our truth of who we are. We are an expression of life, and we are loved, supported, and guided. And we need to remember that truth as we move through life and we support each other. So each one of us is an agent of God. We are the love. We are the supporter. We are the guide. I love my job here at the center and my job in healthcare. My job is to love and support people as they grow into their great expression of life. If they succeed, I succeed, and we all succeed. So can we look past the differences and focus on what we have in common? And can we see that everyone is an expression of God? So one of the pivots that Sean suggests in the book is moving from a transactional society to a transformative society. So how many people say good morning to strangers? I love running or walking in the morning because so many people will say good morning, and I love that. But if you go out in the afternoon, I seldom get a hello. And if you go out at the end of the day or the early evening, forget it. You're not going to get anything. So our relationships have become very transactional in trying to get through life in the most direct, efficient route with the least amount of distractions. Test it for yourself. Pay attention to when you say hello to somebody and ask them how are they doing. Do you really mean it? Do you tell the truth of how you're really feeling? So part of me doesn't like that greeting anymore because it feels very transactional. It's like just a way of getting in the door and then moving on to whatever we need to talk about. So there's no sincerity behind it. So sometimes I shock people and I tell them how I'm really feeling. And they're like, well, I'm not sure if I wanted to ask that question, right? So my job in healthcare, I spend 100% of the time on conference calls. That's all I do is on conference calls all day long. And they're group conference calls and they're one-on-one conference calls. And so and a lot of the people that I work with and I've been working with for years, I've never met them in my life. I don't even know what they look like. Right? And so it feels very transactional. But what I do differently is that when I'm with somebody on a one-on-one call, and what I do, it's not funny, but I think it's funny. I send emails. I start work very early in the morning, so I send them an email and say, hey, when you log in, will you let me know so I can call you, right? Because I want to call them at the very start of their day. I send a lot of those emails out in the morning. But anyway, so when I call those people and I talk with them, I try to personalize it. I try to ask them questions about who they are or what they're doing or what they enjoy. And sometimes I get a shock reaction from them. And then, but we take just a couple of minutes just to connect with each other. And I'll give you one example that this lady that I work with, and she just got back from Australia from visiting her son that's over there for school. And I called her, texted her to see if she was available, and I called her up. And when she got back from her trip, and I said, I'm not calling to talk about the problems that we're having right now. I said, I just want to hear about your trip. How was your trip with your son? And she was very surprised. And so because I work solely on the computer and on the phones and conference calls, I'm very intentional to make connections with people that I work with. And that's through talking to them and asking questions about their lives and who they are. So I believe if we start focusing on transformative relationships, that the world will begin to heal. Sean describes qualities of transformative relationships as caring, vulnerable, love, curiosity, and connection. If we focus on transformative relationships, equity will be an outpitcher of our connection. So one of my favorite things on being on the board is that we have a check-in before we start our meeting. So we start the meeting by sharing our lives, being vulnerable, and allowing people to see who we really are. This connection deepens our love for each other, and it creates a container of support for each other. Do we really believe that you are, they are, and we are a child of God? Equity is about love and support for one another. We all have gifts and talents to share. How do we ensure that each person has the opportunity and the support to express life? Ernest Holmes says, behind all is a unity, through all is diversity, and saturating all is a divinity. Let us remember that each one of us is an individualized expression of God. And our diversity is our gift, and love is our nature. Next slide there. So I found this quote from an unknown author, and I modified it for my talk. So we are like a box of pencils. Each one of us is unique, but then we are together, the picture is complete. So we're creating the canvas of life. Each one of us is adding to the beauty of life. When we come together, we are creating a masterpiece of love, support, and beauty. So when we had our rummage sale was very successful, and in our financial standpoint, we made a lot of money, and thank you all for that. But it was also very successful because we came together as a community. There were so many people that worked long hours that were committed to making it a success. And it was such a beautiful experience just to witness how we all came together as one organization, as a community. And then the other thing that Jillian was telling me about on the way in is that they had a workshop yesterday, musical canvases. Never heard of it, but she had a really great time, and she was telling me about it. And what they did is that each person had a canvas that they were creating, and they were painting on it, and then they were playing music, and then I don't know, like 20 minutes, they paused, and then they shifted to the next person's canvas. And so now they got to paint on somebody else's canvas using their colors, and they kept shifting to the next person, to the next canvas. So they all got to share their personal experience on each other's canvas. And how beautiful that is. And there's a couple of examples out in the bookstores if you want to see them. So I just think that was a beautiful experience, and that's exactly what I'm talking about, how we all bring our own gifts and our own colors. So I always tell Mark that he adds a lot of color to my life. He has a tendency to color outside of my lines, and I get to experience life in a whole new way. I trust him and I love him, so I'm open to experiencing life in a new way. When we are honoring the differences that make us beautiful, and we support each other as an agent of God and include everyone, we know that their uniqueness will add color to our lives. So we're an inclusive organization. We accept everyone. But I didn't always believe it. I always felt welcome when I walked through the doors, but I had a personal belief and a fear that was holding me back. So when I moved to Phoenix back in 2015, I started off in New Vision, and I was going to New Vision. I met the minister there. I was in my final years of ministerial school, and so I really liked the minister that they had there, and so I started going to New Vision and attending that church and being a part of that community. And then the board decided to let that minister go. And so the minister was scheduled to leave, and I didn't feel like I wanted to stay at that community. And so I struggled because I was committed to that community, but my prayer partner's like, you know what, Clyde, you can go anywhere, right? And so what was really important to me at the time was what I knew was going to happen is they were going to hire a new minister. And so we had to find the minister. We had to go through this whole process of getting a new minister for the community. Well, I wanted to be a part of a community that already had a minister. I wanted to play in the sandbox. I didn't want to build the sandbox. And so I became a secret shopper. And I came out to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. And I sat in the back of the room, and Reverend Karen and I have talked about this multiple times when we've talked from the platform up here. And so when I came to the center and I walked through the doors, the difference of it felt when I'm coming here, I felt like this was my spiritual home. I felt the love, I felt the welcoming, and I'm like, this is where I need to be, and this is where I want to be. And then I heard Reverend Karen's message, and I fell in love with Reverend Karen. So Reverend Karen is this beautiful, this is how I explained it to everybody. How I explained it to everybody when I first came here. I said, Reverend Karen has this beautiful feminine power that rides a Harley, and she's a grandmother. Very dynamic woman. So very beautiful, right? Then I met Hugh. Hugh, her husband, who had recently passed not too long ago, he was this big biker guy with a beard and rode a Harley, and so it made me a little nervous. And so Kay Fontana, who was a practitioner that moved over from New Vision, and I knew her. So I actually called Kay Fontana, and I said, hey, be honest with me. I just want to just check it out. Do they really welcome gay men in the community? And she said, yes, we do. Yes, they do. And but what I want you to hear is that there's nothing that happened in the community, nothing that Hugh did, nothing that Reverend Karen did. It was a hidden belief that I had. It was a fear that I had. And because of that, it helped me overcome that fear, and I let it go. So one of my favorite things about Hugh is whenever Reverend Karen and I would get together, the three of us would go to dinner or do something, Hugh would call me son. And I would just love it. I would just love it. It would make Reverend Karen so mad, and she would tell him to stop doing it, but I would tell him on the side, keep doing it. I like it. And so he would do that. And it was a beautiful experience. But what I want you to see is that sometimes we all have these hidden beliefs in ourselves that sometimes we're painting a picture on something else, right? And so we have to be open to the change, to be open to the experience, to feel the love and accept the love. So Reverend Karen and I are definitely two different colored pencils. But when we come together, we are creating beauty and love. So our spiritual home is the foundation I stand on to experience and express life. The spiritual principles we teach help me navigate through all the changes that are going on in my life and in the world. My beliefs are both my anchor and my lighthouse that provides me safety and trust as I move through this changing world. The love I experience and witness allows me to be the agent of God and express my love. We are here in this lifetime because the universe needs us. Each one of us is adding color to the canvas of life. We are creating a container for the future through our actions and our decisions. We are building a cathedral, a world that works for everyone. So I want to close with a quote from Arthur Chain. He's a DEI strategist with a background in clinical psychology. Next slide. You still next slide? So this is what he says. So diversity is a fact. Equity is a choice. Inclusion is an action. And belonging is an outcome. And so it is. So simply allow yourselves to go within Go within to that quiet place that we remember who we are. That place where creativity, where possibilities are ignited, are created. That place where we feel the love of belonging, where we remember the truth that there's only this one life, that God is all there is. And God is good, so life is good. We are experiencing heaven on earth right here and right now. And we get to decide what we want to experience, how we want to experience it, and when we want to experience it. But what I know is that that divine spirit, that divine intelligence is guiding us, leading us, helping us, supporting us, and loving us every step of the way. Every step of the way of our journey that we call life. We have the agents of God, of all the people in our community, all the people in our families, all the people in our lives, and even our pets are all agents of God, supporting us right here and right now. And so what I know is that as we come together every Sunday to remember, to celebrate that one life, that we express life as that one life, that we claim a world that works for everyone. We support each person on their individualized expression, knowing that they bring their gifts to the world. They bring their gifts to life, and they add color to our life. And I know that each one of us is that color pencil, adding our color to the canvas of life. And how beautiful it is. How beautiful it is to experience so much love, so much creativity, and so much joy. So we allow ourselves to be open to know this truth and to claim this truth, that this world is a place for everyone to be all that they can be. And I am grateful to know this truth, and I'm grateful to know that we come together as a spiritual community to remember this truth. I'm grateful for these teachings and all the spiritual principles that help guide and direct me as I live my life, as we express our individual lives, as we express a life as a community, as West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I know that life is unfolding in one direction, and we are part of that life. We are part of that creativity, of that expression of life itself. So I say thank you, God, for remembering this truth. I say thank you, God, for our community, our love, our support, and the welcoming that we call home here at West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. And together we say, and so it is.
His love reflected, shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
All right, now the time is to celebrate the abundance of our lives and the abundance of our community. But first, I want to tell the Bradfords how grateful I am for you. We were talking about this the other night, and how both Reverend Karen and I, they really anchor us and center this community every Sunday. And so this morning, when you were singing that "Make a Quiet Place," it helped me center and relax into this beautiful space. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, so we're just a reminder, we don't pass around the offering plates. We have drop boxes in the back of the room on the Pappy Hall and also in the bookstore. We appreciate all of your tithes and your donations. It goes towards the center. And I want to remind everybody, if you can't smell the pizza, they're warming up pizza right now. So we have a lot of food left over from yesterday. The ladies had a lot of food here, I guess. And so there's a lot of great food in there. So please join us for fellowship. So let's have our closing song. Oh, yep. Again? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Giving affirmation. Thank you. And I'm grateful for Julie. So let's say our giving affirmation together. In the consciousness of good, divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for our last song.
Oh, oh, it feels so good to be alive.
Sing that with me.
Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. I ain't worried about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. Put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're drinking to have some fun. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, lives in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, lives in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, lives in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life. Sing it! Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, oh, it feels so good
to be alive.
Yes, it does. All right, so let's say our closing affirmation together. Just repeat after me. I am creating a world that works for everyone.
I am creating a world that works for everyone.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you.